Hello, everybody. Welcome to the GM Sports Report, your weekly podcast on all things sports where every play counts. I'm Grant, and I'm here with my co-host Mason as we get ready to cover the latest news, headlines, and upcoming events going on in the sports world. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to see all things GM Sports Report. Mason, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Grant. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. We got a lot of fun things to talk about. So with that being said, we'll jump right in, and we'll start like how we start every week with our hot take of the week. So go ahead.
All right, so my hot take, I don't think it's too hot. Well, at least for me. But if the Eagles didn't have Saquon, they never have made it this far in the playoffs. Um, I'm not too big of a Jalen Hurts fan. I know that's a little biased, but he honestly hasn't shown me too much in this postseason that has made me be like, oh yeah, they'd be exactly where they are without Saquon Barkley. I mean, he's just been able to really give that offense the spark that it's needed, and Jalen Hurts doesn't already have too much to worry about, and then let alone just give the ball off to Saquon. He just kind of gets the job done, I guess. So I mean, when you run for as much as you have, I think it was like 26 carries, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, there's not really much else that is needed. So I think if Eagles didn't have Saquon, that they wouldn't be this far in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. That guy's definitely been the best player on their offense. So.
Hmm.
My hot take of the week is a Miami Heat biased hot take of the week. That is, if Khalil Ware played more at the start of this season, he'd be in the race for Rookie of the Year right now. The last couple weeks, he's been playing more and more, and boy, has he looked very impressive. He kind of reminds me of what like Derek Lively was for the Mavs last year. Very good lob finisher, lob threat, if you will. And he's just gotten more and more comfortable the more he plays. He's getting better at rebounding, which was his big issue at the beginning of his stints. And he's able to shoot the three a little bit too. And last game, the Heat played against the Spurs. And this was really the first time we gave Ware some big minutes. And he outperformed Wembanyama. And we started with a lineup that the Heat fans have been asking for all season, which is Khalil Ware at center and Bam Adebayo at power forward. And when we switched to that lineup for the first time, it worked amazingly. We were down by 5 when that lineup started, and we were up by like 20 when that lineup was done playing. So I'm looking forward to that as a Heat fan with all the stuff with Jimmy Butler going on and not really knowing what's going to happen in the future. At least that's one thing that I can look forward to is the surgence of Khalil Ware because he looks legit. All right, now next thing we're going to do is talk about our underdogs of the week. So Mason, I'll let you go ahead.
All right, so you went Heat bias, so I'm gonna go a little Nick bias. I'm gonna go with
Okay.
my boy Campaign. If you know me, I've been high on him for pretty much his whole career. Um, you know, that's a lie. I'm gonna stop right
That's a
there. When
big
he was on
lie.
Philly last year, he was like my most hated other than Embiid. But yeah, ever since he's came to the Knicks, he's been, pretty much like a spark plug for us. Against Minnesota the other game, he had 18 points in 5 minutes and has been pretty consistent coming off the bench. And as he's been getting points where we need him, and he's always been electric and getting a little juice whenever we're kind of in a cold streak in a game and getting us right back to where we need to be. So yeah, Campaign's my underdog of the week.
Oh yeah, you've been a big fan of him his whole career, huh?
No, no,
Okay. All right, just making sure.
yeah, no.
My underdog of the week is going to be about someone that we're about to have a conversation of. That's Jaden Daniels. This dude was the ultimate underdog this last week, going against the 15-2 Lions.
Yeah.
I don't think really anyone picked the Commanders to win that game, but they did. And Jaden Daniels went 22 of 31 for 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had 16 carries for 51 yards. Just a really good all-around performance. And yeah, like I said, they were the ultimate underdog this last week, so I had to give credit when credit's due. And like I said, we're going to be talking about them right now because I have a question for you. My question is Jaden Daniels the best rookie quarterback of all time?
Okay. So as far as best, I'll kind of sway that a little bit into most impactful. Um, if it was most impactful rookie quarterback of all time, I'd say without a doubt. Just given that roster that they have for the Commanders, it's not really changed much from what's happened last year and kind of what they're doing this year. And for him to be able to be as explosive as he is this year and to make it to the NFC Championship, I think it's, undoubtedly probably the best rookie quarterback season we've seen. He's up there in conversations with like Brock Purdy as far as accomplishments, but Brock Purdy also had a juggernaut of a team with the 49ers when he was a rookie and made it to the Super Bowl. I don't know if he made it to the Super Bowl, but anyway, he made it far his rookie year. So I think that if Jaden Daniels can get the job done and make it to the Super Bowl and win the NFC Championship, I think it's without a doubt. But as far as impact, I think he has been the best rookie quarterback we've seen, if like of all time, if not a very long time. So, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I think he's just been so incredible, and we were kind of saying this throughout the course of the NFL season. Like, we'd be saying like this guy has potential to be the best rookie quarterback of all time. We've been saying it, and now he just beat the 15-2 Lions and is going to the NFC
Yeah.
Championship. What in 1 year of a rebuild with the Washington Commanders? Like, they're in year one of this build with Jaden Daniels, and they've made it to an NFC Championship. And it's really been because of him. Like, haters say it or not. I don't think Jaden Daniels really has any
Yeah.
haters, but
Not really.
he's been the reason why they're there. And to me, like you said, I think it's the biggest impact rookie quarterback we've seen. I think
Yeah.
we were talking yesterday about guys like Cam Newton and was it Russell Wilson
Mm-hmm.
was the other guy we were talking
Yeah,
about?
Wilson, Ben Roethlisberger's up there too.
Right.
Just kind of guys that have been up there, but as far as impact, I think he's just blowing them all out of, the
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, so if he wins against the Eagles this week, there's definitely no denying it. But already in my eyes, I think, like you said, he is the most impactful rookie quarterback of all time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now we're going to stick with the NFL and we're just going to give our 3 takeaways from the divisional round. So, Mason, I'll let you go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so my first takeaway, funny enough, is the Commanders shocking, the world against the Detroit Lions. Daniels had a great game, but also a receiver that we just kind of started to been hearing about is Diami Brown. He had a great game, starting to get like a name known for himself. He had 6 receptions, 98 yards. Terry McLaurin was right underneath him. I think he had like 80 something. But the offense has just been clicking, and when you have a quarterback as good as Jane Daniels, you're gonna get the ball if you're good enough and get open, because he's not the kind of guy to force throws. I don't think, like, from what we've seen. If you're open, he's gonna get it to you, and he has that escapability to extend the play, as we saw against the Bears on that game-winning Hail Mary. And on the Detroit side, Gibbs and St. Brown both had great games, but with Goff throwing 3 interceptions, it's hard to win. I don't think anyone expected, the Lions to struggle as much as they did. But when you're throwing 3 interceptions, it's hard to, you're kind of putting your own team in a hole, and you need to be on your best in the best situations. So, yeah, I mean, it was just crazy to see, and we weren't able to really watch it. We were at UFC showing, but it was just from what we did see, it was a great game.
Yeah.
Oh, snap. And then my second one, the Chiefs in no way impressed me with their win against Houston. Um, I really didn't see anything that shocked me too much. Patrick Mahomes lost a bit of my respect on that sideline slowdown when he tried to bait a personal foul call for rough or for whatever. And Kelsey did have a great game with 117 yards and a touchdown. And Stroud also played well, just couldn't get the ball in the end zone. I think everyone knew that the refs were going to kind of be in their favor in Arrowhead, and just weren't able to get it done. The
Yeah.
Texans. And then Eagles also looked very human against the Rams. If it wasn't for those costly turnovers, I think they could have won it. Elements obviously played a factor, and Saquon had another monster game. But yeah, I think it should be very interesting with the championship games next week. Yeah, those are my
Yeah,
takeaways.
I agree. My number one takeaway, this is something that I've been saying on this show. I said it at least 3 times throughout the NFL season. I said it early on in the season. I think I said it in the middle of the season. I think I said it late in the season. And that is the Ravens proved me right. All along, I have been saying that the biggest threat to the Ravens is the Ravens. They beat
Yeah,
themselves. And this last week, we saw that on a national display against the Buffalo Bills. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the Buffalo Bills.
not
Congratulations
at
to
all.
them for making it to the championship. But the Ravens handed them that game. 3 costly turnovers. And then obviously, with the game on the line, we have a dropped pass on a 2-point conversion to probably the best tight end in Ravens history, Mark Andrews.
Yep.
Just absolute brutal drop. To me, they lost that game by beating themselves. Lamar Jackson with that terrible turnover, 2 turnovers, actually, an interception and a
Yep.
fumble. And Mark Andrews also had a fumble, including that drop late in the game. So I had kind of been hinting at that throughout the year that all their losses, it looks like they're beating themselves over and over again. And I think that they show that that was right this last week. So that's my number one takeaway. My number two takeaway is, as a Dolphins fan, this is probably my worst nightmare for an AFC championship. Buffalo versus the Chiefs. I don't know who to cheer for in this one. I don't think I will be able to cheer for either of them because obviously the Bills are a rival, but I just can't stand the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes either. So I think I'm low key leaning towards Josh Allen just to see something different in the Super
Yeah.
Bowl for once.
Mm-hmm.
As much as it pains me, but I can't see another Chiefs Super Bowl. So yeah, but this is
Nope.
my biggest nightmare. That's my number two takeaway. Uh, my number three takeaway is, although the Eagles did look human against the Rams, to me, they still just look like a team that when they're clicking on all cylinders, that they could be the most talented team remaining in these playoffs. Um, they are beatable. Like, let's just get that out the way. The Commanders can go in and
Yeah.
beat them this upcoming week, but when they're on, you don't really have a chance against them, in my opinion. So if they're able to, click on all cylinders against the Commanders, I don't really see them standing much of a chance. But we'll see what happens because, like you said, they did look human against the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next big headline in the NFL is that the Bears are finalizing a deal for Ben Johnson as their head coach, probably the most sought after coach and prospect coming into this offseason. So, Mason, what are your thoughts on this? How much does this help the Bears? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great signing. I hear nothing but good things about Ben Johnson. I think he was the Lions offensive coordinator, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
not mistaken.
I believe so,
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, I think Caleb Williams. He was excited as far as that that prank went. He was excited that he got him, but now for it to actually go through, I think it
Mm-hmm.
should help out with that team a lot. They got a lot of young talent over there. And with a new coach, I think a lot of things will kind of go in the right direction. Yeah, I think it's a great signing for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is huge for them. I follow a lot of Chicago reporters for Cubs news, but obviously they're all talking about this yesterday. And they all seem very excited about it. Like I said, he was the most sought after head coach coming in, or not head coach. I mean, head coach prospect, I should say, because he hasn't been
Hmm.
a head coach yet. But he was definitely the most sought after out of these teams that need a head coach. And something to be interesting that I'm seeing Chicago reporters starting to buzz about is the potential of drafting Ashton Genty this upcoming
Yeah,
draft.
I did see
Mason,
that.
what would your thoughts be on that if they're able to get a guy like Ashton Genty and they have the new head coach and obviously you got Caleb Williams in a year too? Are they a legit team then?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't gonna kind of you know, think too much about it because I did see Ashton Genty hanging out with Caleb Williams at a basketball
Mm-hmm.
game yesterday. And that was like, oh man. But now with kind of all of that going around, I think that they would their offense would at least be something to be worried about. But then again, last year they were something to potentially be worried about on paper and just couldn't get done. So I think if the defense can kind of hold on, I think that they could with Ashton Genty, I think it'd be kind of game over for them.
Yeah, I think they're definitely heading in the right direction. I'll be interested to see because Bears haven't been good in a minute, so that'd be fun to see.
Yep.
All right. And a final announcement for the NFL. We've been trying to upload more videos on YouTube, and we've been doing that by going over every round in the NFL playoffs. And we're going to continue to do that with the championship rounds happening. So be on the lookout for an episode probably on Friday. We're going to be going over the 2 championship games. And yeah, just be on the lookout for that.
Yep.
All right. Now we're going to go over to the NBA, and we're going to do what we do every week, which is our player of the week and team of the week. So Mason, go ahead. We'll start the player of the week. Who do you got?
I'm gonna go with Cade Cunningham. With the Pistons been looking pretty well the last couple weeks. Averaging 26 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, and 8 assists per game. He's just been that star on that Pistons team, and just been, they've been killing it over there. So exciting to see what they can do after having some pretty rough years.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy that if he makes the All-Star game, I mean, I'll be happy
Yeah.
for him because he deserves it. And Detroit, they deserve, to see some promising futures out of their team, because the Pistons have been absolutely brutal over the last, like, I don't even know how long. So good to see them finally start to head towards the right direction. Now, for my player of the week, I'm going to go with his AAU and high school rival, which is Jalen Green, who won Western Conference Player of the Week this last week, averaging 32.5 points, 3.5 assists, and shot 63.3% from 3. And in
Mm.
that stretch, he led the Rockets to a 3-1 record, which is very impressive. The Rockets have also been this team that has been an amazing surprise. They're second in the West right now. I don't think anyone saw that coming. It just goes to show how when you start putting these young players together and you start getting these pieces and assets put together, that it's only a matter of time. We saw it with the Magic last year. We're seeing it with Houston this year, and I believe we'll see it with the Detroit Pistons next year. I think that these young
Mm-hmm.
assets are going to continue to grow. And yeah, so that's my player of the week is Jalen Green. I'm a big Jalen Green guy. I've been a big fan of his. So yeah, shout out Jalen Green. Now we're going to go to the team of the week. Mason, go ahead.
I'm gonna go with the Milwaukee Bucks. Looking in the past, I think it was like 2-3 weeks. They're 7-1 in the last 8 games, and they look to be on a pretty good rise. Giannis is averaging 33.8 points per game, 6 assists per game, and 12 rebounds per game. So he's just been having another dominant season, and yeah, they're definitely looking like they're and going in the right direction after a pretty rough start. So yeah, it should also be pretty interesting to see what they can do.
Yeah, I agree. They're definitely a team that turned it around after that slow start. I also picked a team that kind of was off to a mediocre start and is now kind of clicking on all cylinders, and that is the Denver Nuggets. They started out this season kind of slow, but now they are 6-1 in their last 7 games. Jokic has obviously been playing at an MVP level. He's looked phenomenal. Jamal Murray, who started out the season absolutely horrid, has looked really good over his last 4 games and has started to turn it on. So that's going to be huge for them. And then this has been the biggest story for the Denver Nuggets, in my opinion, the assurgence of Russell Westbrook and his energy. In his last 7 games, he has averaged 16 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. He's looked absolutely phenomenal. He's a great energy guy. The team loves him. It's just great to see Russ playing some meaningful basketball again. It's great to see him
Mm-hmm.
be happy again because I don't think he's played happily in a long time. So this is as a huge Russell Westbrook fan, this is nice to see for me. So I'm glad that he's a big part of this Nuggets team starting to turn it around and get a lot better. So yeah, the Denver Nuggets are my team of the week. All right, now we're going to go into probably still what is the biggest headline in the NBA right now surfacing around, which is the Jimmy Butler trade rumors and drama, all of that going on. So Mason, I don't know if you want to touch on it real quick about your thoughts on what's going on right now. I got an update that I'm going to give. You can go for it if you want.
Yeah, you can. I mean, I really don't have too much to kind of talk about as far as it. I just kind of think it's kind of been left off, kind of how it started. I mean, yeah, I just know he's been playing, but that's about it. So you can go ahead.
Yeah. So the latest update is he met with Mickey Harrison late last week, who's the owner, obviously. And since then, it's been reported by Brian Windhorst that the Heat have shifted into another gear to try to trade him, is what the report is. My guess is that meeting between him and Mickey Harrison was, hey, look, Jimmy, we'll try to start trading you. We'll be more serious about trading you if you just show up and play meaningful basketball. Don't just sit in the corner. and help your team, like actually help your team go out and play hard in the meantime, and we'll look for a trade for you while we're doing that. That's all that I think that is, because some fans were like, oh, maybe he talked some sense into him and he's gonna stay. I don't think he's gonna stay. None of the reports are showing that. He wants out. It still looks like that the Phoenix Suns are the team of interest for him, even though that first report came out saying he'd want to play anywhere but Miami. Ever since then, that's clearly not been the case, because there was a deal almost made with Milwaukee and there was a deal almost made with the Memphis Grizzlies. And after those deals came close, it came out that he wanted to be on the Suns, and really only the Suns. So that's starting to look like the same thing that's been this whole time. This is interesting. It's been reported that over half the league has contacted the Miami Heat that they'd be willing to work as a third or fourth team in a trade for Jimmy Butler. Not necessarily getting Jimmy Butler, but facilitating assets and whatnot, or receiving assets to help facilitate this trade, because it's starting to look like this is going to need to take 3, 4, maybe even 5 teams to get this trade done, which is absolutely crazy, just because, the Heat really don't want Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal only wants to go to a select few teams. He has a no trade clause, so he has command on where he goes. And so that's really what the whole mess is. If Bradley Beal didn't have this no trade clause, this trade probably would have been done by now. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how big of a trade this is. It's going to be interesting to see if it happens at the deadline, because there's other anonymous scouts saying that they don't think this trade's going to get done before the deadline, and they think this is going to head into the summer, which will be very interesting to see. So it's a lot of stuff up in the air right now. Ultimately, my prediction is I think he will be dealt before the trade deadline. I think it's just not good to have that on your team, that drama on your team. It already looks pretty awkward with him back after the suspension. So I think they're going to look to get a deal done. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, though. All right, now we're going to head over to college football, where the national championship was played last night. Ohio State defeated Notre Dame. Mason, I want to know what your thoughts on the championship game were.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State, I think, was just entirely too much for Notre Dame to handle. They couldn't stop the run or the pass game, and Notre Dame couldn't get their offense going other than a select few drives. Riley Leonard didn't have too bad of a game, but they just, like I said, they just couldn't really get anything going. That defense just gave too much pressure, and they were pretty much locked down the whole game. And on the offensive side of Ohio State, it just felt like everything was coming easy. They just run the ball down Notre Dame's throat. And, at the end of the game there, well, actually, hold on real quick. Judkins had 3 total touchdowns. I think it was 2 rushing and 1 receiving, which was, pretty good to see, because he didn't really have too great of a season as people kind of anticipated. And Jeremiah Smith, he caught a huge pass to pretty much seal the game at the end there. They were doing a pretty much zero blitz to give the pressure to Ohio State's offense, and just left a one-on-one with him on a pretty much go ball, and he came down with it as he usually does. They almost came back there. If they got that stop, it probably would have looked really good for them, for Notre Dame, but just couldn't get the job done at the end of the day, and the score was a bit closer than what the game looked like. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to say that as my lead-in point was the score was a little deceiving. To me, it wasn't really that exciting of a game. Ohio State was kind of just dominating the whole game, which that's kind of what I thought was going to happen. I thought Notre Dame had like a little bit better of a chance than what they went out there and did. But, at the end of the day, Ohio State looked great all playoffs long, defeating Oregon, who was probably the favorites before they defeated them. So, yeah, it's kind of what I expected. And that's pretty much all I have to say. It wasn't like some crazy all-time national championship game or anything like that. It kind of just, it just felt like another, game to me. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're going to go over to UFC 311. And I just want to get your thoughts on what UFC 311 was for you. What do you think? It was good, bad?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a very well-rounded card. I think it had a little bit of everything in it. I don't really think that there were many boring fights other than, I think, the main event, because everyone just kind of knew what was going to happen there. But yeah, I thought there was a lot of great fights. Definitely a lot of like I said, well-rounded and pretty good matchups throughout the whole night. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty good card.
Yeah, I agree. I think all the fights were pretty good other than the Kevin Holland fight and the main event,
Mm,
obviously. But like you said,
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
was expecting that to happen in the main event. So I'm not going to knock too many points off for that. It was a pretty good event. There's some entertaining fights in there. So with that being said,
Hmm.
I want to know who your fight of the night was and who your fighter of the night was.
Okay, so my fight was Yuri versus Jamal Hill. It's just that went pretty. That was very exciting, in my opinion. And Yuri is my fighter of the night with pretty heavy props towards Marab. I think he was, you know, a pretty big underdog as far as who he was going up against, and then just still got the job done at the end of the day. But Yuri looked like a completely different fighter from what we saw against Pereira, and I would love to see him fight Roundtree. Um, just I like his flow state and just the way his head movement was. It was great to see, and definitely looked like it caught Jamal Hill by surprise. And I don't
Mhm.
think he was anticipating on going down that fight. So yeah.
Yeah, my fight of the night is also Yuri versus Hill. I thought that was a very entertaining fight. It was one of those fights where it's like both ways, if any of them landed a shot, it felt like it could end the fight because he
Yeah.
didn't really have any crazy shots, but if he did connect, anything could happen because he has that knockout power. But Yuri, like you said, looked incredible. His head movement was something that we've never really seen before, something that he added to his bag, which is going to be huge for him in upcoming fights because if he really does have that good of defense, I know the announcers were kind of saying like, "Oh, his defense looks great, but it's just because Hill is like, too predictable
Mhm.
or whatever." But I thought his head
Yeah.
movement looked great, and it's gonna be something to see
Yeah.
interesting because if he develops some good defense, he's gonna be pretty good because his offense has always been there. So that's something to watch out for. But my fighter of the night is different. I am going to give it to Marab. I know we're both not the biggest Marab fans,
Mhm.
but this is two straight fights where he's been looked at as the underdog, and he went out and just dominated his opponent. Like no other way to put it. Everyone thought Sean O'Malley would get him, and he dominated Sean
Right.
O'Malley. And now everyone thought Umar was going to get him, and he dominated Umar. Um, his gas tank, I mean, it's just
I know.
absolutely absurd. He looked the same amount of freshness from round one to the last round. He looked incredible as far as that goes. His striking still isn't like amazing. I don't think it ever will be. But man, his wrestling, his ability to take down his opponent is just amazing. His ability to
Yeah.
stuff these takedowns is probably the best wrestler he's faced, and he made Umar look like a mid wrestler, which is pretty
Yeah.
crazy because with his last
Mhm.
name and all. So I got to give props to Marab. He is my fighter of the night, although I'm not the biggest fan of him. But
Yeah.
gotta give credit when credit's due. All
Absolutely.
right. Oh, I just noticed I skipped over the MLB segment of the day, so we'll get into
Oh.
that right now. Um, there's a conversation that I want to have with you. It's kind of the biggest conversation going on in the offseason right now. This last week, the Dodgers signed Roki Sasaki and Tanner Scott. I just kind of want to know. A lot of fans are saying the Dodgers are ruining baseball. Do you think that because they've put a lot of money into their team now? You look at their salary going into this next season. Not only is it in its own league for the MLB, it's in its own league for all four major sports in America. So I just want to know what your thoughts are
Mhm.
on it.
Yeah, I mean, baseball, everyone knows that they pretty much make the most money out of all of the four major sports. I think in their own sense that baseball is in their own league as far as the money, but they're just in their own league as far as baseball entirely. So, whatever the highest tier is, Dodgers has overpassed that. I think I saw there like $1.5 billion, in deferred payments or something like that, and they're just
Mm-hmm.
it's just the amount of money, and it's like everyone's asking for a cap hit or like a salary cap, sorry. But there's just really no way to do that with the contracts that these guys are getting. Because you even look at Soto, he's making $750,000 or of $1 billion. So it's just I don't really think that there's anything that they can do to kind of control it as far as contract wise. I know you're kind of talking about like another clause, like kind of what NBA does. I think it's pretty annoying because a lot of other teams want these guys that would be pretty impactful towards them, but Dodgers have the pay or have the money, so they're going to go out and get pretty much all the competition that they see could take them out, which is pretty annoying to see. So, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't complaining too much until the recent signing of Tanner Scott, who is probably the most sought after relief pitcher in the free agency. And the Cubs were heavily involved in trying to get him. And it was even reported that he was their preferred destination until the Dodgers swooped in last minute and outbid us just because they can. And it's very frustrating because, like the Cubs finally have a chance to be good this year. And that was going to be a really big ad for us. And now the Dodgers swooped in and got him when they already have a good closing pitcher in Blake Trinan, which is a whole different topic. But here's my thing. Let's take a look at the Dodgers offseason this year. They've signed Michael Conforto, Hyun Kim, who's probably the other biggest Japanese star other than Roki that was going into this offseason. Hyun Kim, Roki Sasaki, Tanner Scott, and Blake Snell, who was a Cy Young candidate. They re-signed Teoscar Hernandez, Blake Trinan, who was their big closer for them this last season, and Tommy Edman, who won NLDS MVP, or NLCS, sorry. So they're able to just get whoever they want. And it's a little frustrating. But here's the even crazier thing. Let's take a look at the Dodgers starting rotation for pitching. In no particular order, Tyler Glasnow, Shohei Ohtani, Roki Sasaki, Yamamoto, Blake Snell. That's their 5, right? And these are pitchers that are not even in their rotation now. Clayton Kershaw, Bobby Miller, Dustin May, and Tony Gonsolin. That's a legit starting rotation for any other team in the league. That list of players that aren't even in their Dodgers rotation, that rotation could be a good rotation for any other team in this league with Clayton Kershaw, Bobby Miller, Dustin May, and Tony Gonsolin. So it's just ridiculous to me the amount of players they have. But I will say this is not the Dodgers' fault. They're taking advantage of what the MLB is letting them take advantage of. They have the money, so they go out and they spend it. So I will say this is not the Dodgers' fault. This is the MLB's fault. The MLB needs to come up with something. I know, like, it's hard for us to think about something, but there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. I think you do something similar to the MLB or the NBA where they have the apron rules, the second, third aprons, where later down the line you're not able to sign as much players. You lose some draft compensation. You lose, free agent flexibility. You're not able to sign as much people. I think they need to do something like that because it's starting to get ridiculous. The Dodgers practically have an all-star team now, and I really just don't see anyone being able to beat them. Yeah, it's very frustrating to see in baseball because, you feel for those small market teams. Like, look at what the Tigers did last year. All these teams that are in the smaller market aren't able to make these things happen. The Miami Marlins, like all these teams, the Twins, I could go on and on, but it's just frustrating to see none of these teams ever have a chance because the Dodgers are able to just swoop in and sign whoever they want whenever they want. So, yeah, that's all I got to really say about that. All right. Originally, I wasn't going to plan for a third segment today, but Mason said he had some surprise trivia for me. So I'm hoping I don't butcher this on the show because that would be pretty embarrassing. I like to think of myself as a ball knower. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's a new segment. I got just was thinking about it, earlier in the week. Just a kind of like a what if, and then I saw that we didn't have another segment. So it's something called Do You Know Ball? It's a new trivia segment where I'll ask Grant, questions about his 3 favorite teams. So Grant, tell us what your most known teams are of your 3 favorite teams that you've, so like baseball, all that.
Okay,
your top 3.
So out of knowledge, I'd say I know the Heat the most, the Cubs second, and then the Dolphins the least. But I've watched the Cubs the longest, the Heat the second longest, and the Dolphins third. So I'm pretty confident in both Cubs and Heat. I'll say that.
Okay, that's fair. So what I have is I have 3 questions, and they're pretty much going to interchange if we decide to keep doing this segment. So I said that you had baseball as what you've seen them watch the most. So that's a 3-point question, which is one of the harder questions. And then basketball, sorry, is a 2-point question, which is, not as hard, but, still kind of difficult. And then 1 point is the Dolphins, NFL a little bit. Haven't seen that as much. So you can get partial points if you get, say half of the question right. So we're just gonna get straight into it. So the 3-point question this week is for the Chicago Cubs. Definitely a bit of a I don't know if it's gonna be challenging for you, but can you name the Cubs starting lineup from the Game 7 of the World Series?
Oh, I think I can. I think I can.
Okay,
You got Dexter
I
Fowler.
have the roster.
Okay, Dexter Fowler.
Yep.
Was it Rizzo in the 2?
Mm-hmm. No, Rizzo's
It
in the
was.
1. No, so you don't have to go straight down the order, just as long as you get the names right.
Just the starting lineup. It doesn't have to be like the
Yeah,
bat in order.
you're right.
Oh, okay.
No,
Oh,
not the
okay. I
batting
thought
order.
you were making me do
Just
bat
get the
in order. I
names.
was like,
No, just
okay,
no.
Dexter Fowler in
I
center
didn't want to.
field. Gotcha,
Yep.
gotcha. Okay, Dexter Fowler center field, right field Jason Hayward,
Mm-hmm.
left field. Ooh,
Mm.
hang on. I'll get to that later. First
Yeah,
base
just go with what you
Rizzo.
know.
First
Yep.
base Rizzo. Shortstop Addison Russell.
Yep.
Third base Chris Bryant.
Yep.
Second base Javier Baez.
Yep.
Catcher was they switched catchers halfway through. It was what's his name? Miguel Montero started, and then David Ross came off the bench later that game and had the pinch hit home run.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, left field was the MVP, Ben Zobrist, right?
Yes.
And the starting pitcher of that game, because there's so many pitchers that threw in that game. Was it? They had John Lester come out second, so it wasn't him. It wasn't Jake Arrieta, right?
Nope.
That's what I thought. Was it John Lackey?
No. Do you need a hint? Like
Yes,
a
I do.
first letter hint? All right. It starts with a
Yes.
K.
Kyle Hendricks. Duh. Why
Yes.
did I not think
Yep.
of that? Yes, it was Kyle Hendricks
Yeah.
and
So.
then John Lester and then
Yep.
Aroldis Chapman and
Mm-hmm.
then
Yeah.
I think Carl Edwards Jr. might have thrown a little bit in that game, and then
So
the
you
closer
got
was
the points.
Montgomery.
You got the points. I was just going off of the starters. I wasn't going straight through. So
Okay, all right.
you got. I'll give you 4 points for that since
Okay,
as we go through, if you want to keep doing this, I'll find a point system to where like
okay.
if you figure some.
I'm
So
getting no.
so that
It's your
was
turn next week. Your turn next week. I'm
okay.
doing
That's
this
fair.
week.
That's
It's your
fair.
turn next week.
Okay, so yeah, you got 4 points for that. All points for that. 2 point. For the Miami Heat. This is kind of easier. Easier question. What year did Bam Adebayo get drafted to the Miami Heat?
Ooh, it was 16 season. 2016, 2017?
Yeah, 2017.
The 2017.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah. So that one wasn't as hard, obviously, as the 3-point question. And then this one, easiest one. Who was the Dolphins head coach before McDaniels?
Oh, it's what's his face? Flores.
Yes. Yep. So you got all 6 points this week. I'll give you 7 points since you did
All
add a
right.
little bit more ball knowledge to that 3-point question. And yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I
I
think that
had
was
to
a
get
pretty
the game
fun
7
segment.
one right.
Yeah, that was
All
great.
right, I'm proud
So,
of myself there. I'm proud of myself there.
yeah, it's nothing to worry about. Yeah, I thought that was just kind of something fun. We kind of get a little interactive. Think it'd kind of be cool just to kind of test our, a little bit of our ball knowledge. So yeah,
Yeah, for sure. That was fun. It'll be your turn next week.
that's fair. That's fair.
All right. Well, that pretty much wraps up the episode. Thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of GM Sports Report, where every play counts. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to be able to see our weekly episodes on all things sports. For additional content, check the description to see links to our Instagram and TikTok account. This is Grant and Mason signing off for now. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you guys.